Good morning, everyone. Oh, excuse me. Hello, I can see there's 10 people already here. Good morning. Bit chilly out there. Got my winter woolies on today because it's a bit nippy. Welcome to live streaming from Active Life Infusion. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning. Hope everybody's okay. We're going to be doing yoga this morning. My name's Nikki. And we've got a few minutes until we go live. So we're just waiting for some more people to join, if there's anybody coming on this morning. And today we're going to be looking at legs and hips. So if you've got extra bits of kit that you might need, could be bricks and blocks, as always, like the ones I've got here. If you don't have things like that, don't panic. You can use things like a cushion, something that's firm to support the legs if you need it. Books are a good idea, so something quite firm. So if you've got hardback books or a thick book, that would, can be quite handy. You might not need to use it because it depends on your flexibility, etc., and sometimes the proportion of your body. But they're just handy things to have if you've got it there. So do say hi. Hi, Natasha. I can see you've made it this morning. Well done. Anyone else wants to give me a little message, then while I'm just standing here, I can actually read it because a lot of you know that I can't always see from further back on the mat because I need my other glasses to read any complicated messages. Yeah, but do feel free to say hello. So yeah, we're doing legs and hips, and as I said lots and lots of times before, even when we did legs and hips last time on the live stream, your hips aren't always where you might imagine them to be. We tend to think of the hips here on the outside of the leg, and indeed they are, but depending on what you're doing with your leg, the function that you're asking it to do, then the muscles associated with the movement of the leg and therefore the hip might be in the places that you don't think. So lower back, inside of the pelvis, buttocks, etc., etc. So we're going to be doing all range sort of movements today, working, each way, some strengthening, some stretching, as always. But a lot of the work is going to be down on the mat. So do make sure that you're going to stay warm. That's why I've worn my long sleeve top today, because I'm not moving about too much. And in this cold weather, you don't want to feel as if you're tensing up while you're doing the stretches, etc. Okay, so time to get going. So if you want to lie down on your mat, the first thing to do is check you've got enough room to stretch overhead. And we're going to be lying down onto the back. So doing a regular little warm-up. So you can have a bit of a gap between the legs, have the legs flat or the knees bent. If you have trouble with the lower back, that's a good place to start, with the knees bent. And a bit of a gap between the arms and the sides of the body. So just paying attention to the breath to begin with, breathing through the nose if possible. Feel the abdomen rising and stretching as you breathe in. And drawing it downward, but just squeezing the belly button down as you breathe out. Not rushing the breath. Really allowing time for the pause between each one so that gradually the breath becomes slower and deeper. And then be ready for an easy stretch. So as you inhale, lifting the arms up towards the ceiling, exhaling them over the head. Have the legs together. Deep breath in, point the toes, tighten the buttocks, stretching into your fingertips and softening as you breathe out. Second stretch, when you're ready, flex the feet, really lengthen away into the heels. Again, releasing on the exhalation. And then you can bring the arms down, bending the knees, And hugging the knees up to the chest. Knees apart for a little rock, side to side. So just massaging through the back and the hips. And then slipping off any socks, assuming that it's not freezing, and placing the feet down onto the mat. Taking the arms wide, palms upward. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, slowly drop the knees over to the right, keeping a decent gap between the feet, and turning your head to the left. Allow the legs to feel heavy. On the inhalation, back to center. Exhaling, other side. You might be able to feel a bit of a stretch down the front of the thigh, on the top leg, maybe into the hip. And then inhaling center. Okay, sliding the left leg flat now. Hugging the right knee in, and take the knee out to the side, stretching out the leg, and we're going to circle the leg. Big circles right across the body if we can. If it feels a bit tough, then just keep a little bend in the knee. If you're very loose, you could flex the foot. 3 each way. When you've done that, you can rest the leg flat, give it a bit of a wriggle out if you like, and do the same on the other side. Don't worry if you're going slower or faster. Don't forget to breathe. Giving both legs a bit of a wriggle out when you've finished. And then you can rest with the soles of the feet together. Knees dropping open, Supta Baddha Konasana. You can take the arms wide, or closer to the head if the shoulders allow for that. Now with the feet in this position, and if it's very strong, this exercise, you can just stay here. We're going to start working into the buttocks a little bit. So we've still got the feet together, and you can feel the outer edges of the feet are in contact with your mat. So just bring the arms down because that will make it easier. And then we're going to press the feet together and press the outer edges of the feet down and lift the buttocks up away from the mat. Keep breathing. Maximum of 5 breaths. Slowly rounding down in with your back when you've done your 5. If you're okay, we're going to rest for 1 breath and then do the same again. Again, maximum 5 breaths. So if that's too many, then obviously come down whenever you need. And when you come down for the second time, you can just slide the feet away along the mat. Give the legs a bit of a stretch. And then bring the soles of the feet onto the floor. Okay, so we're going to bring the knees up to the chest now, knees together. Make sure you're squeezing in. Take the arms wide, once again ready for a twist. So we take a breath in, and as you breathe out, take both knees to the right side, really tucking up towards the arm. Hold the legs above the floor if you get all the way over. Inhale, we come back. Exhaling, other side. So you're following your breath. Exhale to twist. Inhale to return. Next time you go to the left, make that your last one. When you're back to center, just placing the feet down. Don't rush. And take again a couple of breaths. And then rolling onto your side and coming up to sitting. Oh, I can see someone else. Hello, Nikki. Or was that Nick? Yes. So, as I say, we're doing legs and hips today. Now, because it might be cool where you are as well, we're actually going to start by standing up, and then we're going to be coming back down to the mat. We just want to get the ankles and the lower parts of the legs particularly warmed up before we start doing some stretches. So if you want to come onto your feet. Now you can see that I've got two mats here, and I'm going to use the purple one just so that I can face you while we're doing these stretches. If you've been at class every week since I've been doing these live stream exercises, then you'll have done this before, and I'm sure most of you that come to me regularly have done them in class. So you want to feel like you're gluing the legs together. Now, some of you may have a thigh gap. I don't have that. So maybe only the knees touch together, or maybe they don't quite touch together at all. It doesn't matter as long as we're trying to keep the thighs in line. Okay, you can do whatever you like with the arms that gives you balance, and we're going to rise onto the balls of the feet. So we're stretching out with the ankles. Okay, and then just bring the legs, the heels rather, back down. Do that once more onto the balls of the feet, and then coming back down. Now, keeping on the balls of the feet the next time, we're going to walk to the end of the mat, keeping the thighs in line, and then walk back again. So we're rising and we're walking small steps forward. So we're just warming up through the feet and the legs. And we're coming back. If anybody sees you through the window, just give them a wave. They'll probably think you're a bit bonkers doing these. And then we're going to rise onto the heels. So the toes are up now. So we're giving a little shuffle. And this starts to move the pelvis. So it's working into the lower back as well, which is your hip elevator, quadratus lumborum in the lower back on each side. Helps to stabilize the pelvis, but it also moves the hip, which is what we're doing here. Then the outer edges of the feet, keeping the knees together, as I say, and you might feel the buttocks working a bit more now. Buttocks have lots of functions to do with how we're moving the leg and the stability through the hip. Good. And then the inside edge. If I'm going too quick, you just, catch up at your own pace. Can't help but smile with these. See, I can see it's Nicky Man's now as I get closer. And then going back. Good, good. And then relaxing, just paddle out through the legs. And you can feel, hopefully, that's worked the legs a bit harder. For those of you back in the day that used to come to the pier, we often used to use these to warm up the feet because the floor was so cold. Okay, so if your heating breaks down, you know what to do. Do some silly walks. Okay, so coming back to our standing position. Now you can let the legs part a little bit if that's more comfortable. Have the hands together, elbows wide. We're keeping the chest up, a little bit of firmness in the lower abs, and again, just rising onto the balls of the feet. Give a good stretch through the ankle. Exhale, we're coming down. Two more. Lovely. And then release. Okay, Now, when we come down to the mat, you may need your bricks and blocks, so grab those if they're further away from you. Like I say, pillows, cushions, books, anything like that can be useful. Now, this is a block, and I'm using a half block. It's very thin. If you've got an A4 size textbook, then you could use that to sit on. If you need something a bit fatter, just pile them up if that's all you've got, or sit on your cushion. So we're sitting right at the front edge with the pelvis, and I'm going to have the legs wide apart. Now, I'm on a hard floor, as you can see, and it would be much better if you keep the heels on the mat if you're on the same type of hard floor. If you're on the carpet, it's not going to make much difference to you because you've got a bit of cushioning at the back of the heel, okay? Because putting your heel onto a hard surface a lot you get a bit of bruising here at the back of the heel. It makes it very uncomfortable, particularly if you're tighter into the legs. And then take your hands and just pull the flesh back from the sitting bones that you should be able to feel now, the sitting bones, towards the edge of the block that you're sitting on. If you can already feel a stretch here on the inside of the thighs and the adductors, then bring the legs a little bit closer in. If you're very loose, you can walk the legs further out, okay? And keep the feet relaxed to start off with. So we're lifting here at the sternum, and we're going to start off with a twist. Now, when we twist to one side, I'm going to go this way to start off with. So as I go round, although obviously I'm working the spine and muscles associated either side, you may start to feel it in the inside of the opposite leg because it starts to pull a little bit round with the pelvis, okay? So take the hands either side of the chosen leg. We sit really tall, and you start to turn the sternum towards the chosen leg. Moving the hands round to help support you, keeping the spine upright. Now, if that feels okay, you could push it into the heels if you're loose enough. But if it makes you slump, relax the feet and sit tall again. Okay? If you can go a bit further, the hand that's now between the legs, take it to the outside of the thigh on the side that you chose to move towards. And then use it for a little bit of resistance to push the shoulders around. Keep breathing. So if you're looser, then you may not feel the stretch in the legs. You can sort of be aware of it all the way down the inside of the opposite thigh. So it starts to work that lower back area that I mentioned, that is the hip elevator. So wringing it out a little bit. On the inhalation, we're coming back. I'm going to try that on the other side. So sitting tall, breathing in, exhale to turn. See how that feels. Go that bit further if you can. Now, as always with these asymmetrical positions, one side is often very different to the other. And that varies day to day. Inhale, we come back. Very good. And just relax the legs. Okay, now we're going to tuck one leg in. Now we're going to repeat our twist, but if now we're taking the stretch out of this leg, and it's more about the hip. And this is lateral rotation for the hip when the knee goes out to the side. So if you're tighter, your knee may be sticking up like this, in which case you could take your brick or your cushion and support underneath the outer part of the leg. If that isn't you and the knee's down, clearly you don't need that. What we're trying to do is keep the buttock down on this long leg side. Okay, so again, we sit tall and we're turning. And now you may feel that you can go around that little bit further. And you have to watch that you don't start pushing forward with the pelvis. Okay. Again, if it's easy on the way you're turning, you take the opposite hand to the outside of that thigh. And give a bit of a push round. Pushing into the heel of the extended leg if it's easy. Keep sinking down with the buttock on the extended leg side. Inhale, we're coming back. Okay, let's switch that to the other side. Again, supporting the knee if necessary. Hands either side of the bent knee, sit tall, and turning. Going as far as we can. Push into the heel of the straight leg if possible. Don't forget to breathe. Inhale, we're coming back. Lovely. Let's switch it back to the other leg. Now we're going to change it slightly now. So whereas before I said if the knee was up, you could put a brick under, we definitely don't want to do that this time, even if the knee is here, because we're going to be working into this hip now and the buttock. Okay, so when we do postures like pigeon, it can be a good stretch for sciatic nerve, because obviously we're working the joints, the muscles, the nerves, the skin, everything when we're doing our posture work. And sometimes when you do regular pigeon, that can be too much for some people. Okay, and this is a good way of getting a bit of extra stretch without the same load into the leg that we're going to be leaning onto. Also, for people that tend to be tighter generally into the legs, then it can be a good way to get an abdominal massage that you wouldn't get if you're very tight from postures like Paschimottanasana. So if you have 2 bricks like I've got, you might want to put them either side of the leg like that. If you've got cushions, you can have them around as before. Okay, and I'll show you various ways that you can use this. Now, this time as we do the stretch, the buttock on the long leg will lift, most definitely, unless you're really, really tight and you don't get much movement at all. Don't worry if that's you, it's just your maximum stretch. So now we want to turn towards the bent knee with the chest and sit up, nice and tall. Think about the abdomen coming towards the thigh as we come forward. And you can see buttock on the other side is lifting already, and you may find that your foot rolls in on the long leg. If you're only getting a little way, you might be able to put your elbows onto the bricks like this, and that gives you a bit of support, and you may still feel a stretch in this straight leg and a bit of a stretch maybe into the buttock on the leg that you're leaning over. For those that can go further, come to the floor with the elbows. If you can go further, you can take your head all the way down to the floor, but that will depend A, on flexibility, and B, proportion. If it won't go to the floor, you could use your brick or cushion under your head, as I'm doing here, and breathe. One more breath. And then we're slowly coming up. Very good. And then we try that on the other side. So again, if you need the bricks, remembering it could be different this side, have them in place. So we're turning towards the bent knee, sitting up nice and tall, abdomen coming towards thigh. Maybe you can go lower than the bricks, maybe to the floor. If the head will go all the way down, then allow it to. You could relax the arms forward. Next inhalation, slowly rising. Very good. And then stretching out the leg. Again, other side. Okay, so when we went over the bent knee, we definitely don't want to have that brick under because it will be uncomfortable to press down onto it. But now we're going to be using the straight leg. So again, if the knee is sticking up, you can go back to supporting the leg like so. Now, Pravritta Janusasana, which is revolved head to knee pose. It's a bit misleading when we say head to knee, because really what we want is try to get the abdomen towards the thigh as we were doing over this bent knee side. Okay, this will now start to stretch into lower back, that hip elevator area, quite strongly. So that muscle runs between the base rib and the top of the pelvis in more or less vertical striations. So we're getting a bit of a twist, so it's a bit of a stretch round already, and then we're lengthening it as we come forward with this stretch. So we have to do it in a particular way. So the hand that matches the straight leg, I'd like you to take that outside of the hip area on that straight leg side, and then we sit tall and turn your chest to face the straight leg. So the opposite hand to that straight leg now, you can take the outside of your hand against the leg and keep looking forward. Dropping the head too early is a mistake. And then as we tip forward with the abdomen towards the thigh, you can start sliding that hand down the leg. Now, this is a very common area to be tight. So maybe you'll only get to here. This was me for a long time after my back injury. So if that's you, it doesn't matter. We just stay here. You can feel it's quite a good stretch. You can feel that going. If you feel like you can keep going, we keep lengthening, keep looking past the foot. Maybe the hand would reach the foot. It just depends, again, on the proportion. If that is reaching the foot, you could hold on to the outer edge of the foot. And if you're going further, bend the elbow just towards knee, and then eventually nose towards the shin. If we drop the head too early, it starts stretching into the back before we've got that tip of the pelvis going on. Keep breathing. So you potentially feel that on the lower back on the opposite side, as I say, just above the pelvic area. Next inhalation, we're rising. And then we try that on the other side. So again, if you needed the brick, you can use the brick. I only use it there just to show you how. Okay, so we're sitting tall and we're turning towards the straight leg. Hand on the outside of the hip that matches that straight leg. Opposite hand to the outside of the straight leg now. Lengthen the spine, looking ahead. Exhale, we tip forward, abdomen towards thigh. So if you're very tight in the legs, clearly you will feel it in the leg as well. And that might stop you from going much lower, which is why we're doing several stretches that work the same area. Keep breathing. If you're going all the way, remember I said you can slide that hand down, clasp hold of the foot, and draw the body down over the leg. Head dropping last. On the inhalation, slowly rising. Very good. And stretching the legs out in front. Give the legs a little roll, side to side. Okay. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together now, Baddha Konasana. And we want to try and lengthen the spine once again. You could hold on to ankles or toes, somewhere that you can reach, and sit nice and tall with the spine. So clearly this is a symmetrical stretch. It's taking the stretch away from the legs now, and it's working into the hips. So it could be that the knees are here. Okay, so if that is you, you could take your hands on the ankles, and I've got my elbows just inside of the knees, and you can press a little bit, like so. Okay, if the knees drop down a long way, some of you, the knees might go to the floor. I'm not that loose. And just breathe. Okay, so we're going to bring a little bit of active work in now. So just stretch the legs away for a moment, and we're going to come off the block. Okay, coming off any cushions, anything like that that you're sitting on. So we're definitely sitting on the floor. So it could be that it makes you feel like you're rolling back to start off with. So bring the feet back together. Again, holding on where it's comfortable and sitting tall. Okay, so yoga grip is middle finger and forefinger. Can you see that? I'll put them in front of my top. Maybe you can see it a bit easier. Okay. And the fingers are together, and we slide the finger between the big toe and the next toe and hold the big toe. And then you have to bend the big toe forward so it's holding the fingers as well. Otherwise, your finger just slips off your toe. Okay. So that each is holding the other. Now we're going to keep the one leg down, and we're going to stretch the held leg out to the side. Now, try not to be in the habit of leaning your body away from the leg. Now, if you're tighter, you need to bend the knee because you'll feel that stretch in the inside and the back of the leg at the hamstring. If you're looser, then we can stretch the leg out. Keep breathing. Now, some people don't like toe grip, but the reason we're not holding the inside of the foot, say like this, is that if you're like me and you hyperextend your knees, you tend to lock it out. Whereas if you're like this, the foot is active, helps with that because you can feel it's active still in the thigh. Lovely. And then bring it down. See if we try that on the other leg. So remember, a bent knee is fine. Straighten it out if you're able. Lifting the chest, the sternum. Hello, everybody, if you're just joining. I can see numbers going up and down. Excellent. And then bring it down. Okay, back to the other side. Now we're going to take it forward. So a proper hamstring stretch. Now you might feel it also into the calf. Now clearly there's a lot of weight in your leg, as you can feel, because it's pulling your arm. So we want to make sure it's not just the arm is holding all the weight. You want to be a little bit active in the leg. Great, and then down, other side. Working the back muscles by lifting the chest. Don't forget to breathe. Good, and then bring it down. Okay, stretch the legs away just for a moment. Just give a little wriggle, and then bring it in. Okay, so a bit of active work now, a bit more active, I should say. So we've got the leg out to the side, whether the knee is bent or the leg is straight. Now, I want you to try and tighten up your thigh. Okay, one of these is your hip flexor, so it's lifting that, bringing the leg towards the body. And then see if you can let go with the hand. Take it, hold again. Let go with the hand. Hold again. On and off. Can you feel the leg working harder? Good, and then bring it down. Other side. Take it out, tighten up, release, and hold. Release, and hold. Good. Don't worry if it drops like a stone. It's all practice. And bring it down. Ooh, okay. Now we're going for it. So we're walking the feet in. Now, if you find it hard to do these balances, a brick can be helpful by giving you a little launch pad, and you can put your feet onto the brick like so that when we lean back with a straight back, we can get a bit of a lift. It's a bit easier from that higher brick if you find it difficult. If you don't need it, obviously then just get rid of that. So even here, working a little bit into the thighs if we can. Okay, and then see if we can stretch the legs open. Good, good. Keep breathing. Lifting through the chest. Now, often we do this as a core exercise, but it is working the leg too, especially if we try and release now. So we're letting go with the hands. Keep breathing. Keep smiling. And bring it down. Fantastic. Okay, stretch the legs away. Give them a wriggle, a rub out if necessary. And we're going to put the bricks and whatnot to one side. And you're going to lay on your side on your mat. Okay. So lying in a nice straight line down the line of the mat. Now, we want to be as close as possible to the floor. So if when you prop your head up like this, it means that your elbow is digging in like that. It's probably better that you have the arm flat. Okay, with your head resting on it, because it really depends on the flexibility in your shoulder and upper back as to whether you can get that close to the floor. Okay, so we're flexing both feet And we're tightening up through the quads now, front of the thigh, and pushing into the heels. Now I want you to lift the top leg only, and we're lifting it to your maximum. So you can feel it working in the outer part of the leg only if you keep the outer edge of your foot parallel with the floor. If you start turning the foot up to start off with, you're going to feel it too much in the quads. Okay, so we're working the outer part of leg and buttock. It's also working a little bit into the obliques to stabilize and into that lower back area. Keep breathing. Really feel like you're lengthening into the heel. So your femur is your heaviest bone. And after a while, the leg starts to feel even heavier. Okay, so it's not a complicated exercise, but it's effective. Now we're going to bring the leg part way down, and then we're going to rotate the whole of the leg. So turning the head of the femur in the hip socket as we rotate the foot towards the ceiling and in. So we start to work piriformis in the pelvis. You maybe feel the buttock kicking in as well when you rotate that leg. One more. Good, and then relaxing the leg down. Okay, give it a little wriggle out if you're getting any sort of cramp. And then bring the knee in towards the chest and turn the knee out towards the ceiling. Okay, so this is where we start to feel different parts of the buttock working. And we're going to stretch the leg up now. So again, it's going to work the back of the leg here, hamstring, as well as the adductor for some of you. But we are working the hip flexor, and I want you to work the hip flexors hard by drawing the leg over towards the head without using the hand. So similar to what we did on the floor when we were balancing, but because the orientation of the body is different now, it may feel easier or harder. Keep that lower leg working. Bit of resistance. Okay, and then giving it a little bit of a hand. So you could hold behind the calf. Again, toe grip if you like, and draw the leg over to get maximum stretch. Good, good. And then releasing the leg all the way down. Okay, so now we're going to bring the knees forward and the heels towards the buttocks. Now, because we don't want the pelvis to be rolling around, you could take your hand behind you so the pelvis is in the upright position, and then opening the top knee out. Now, we've done this before where we open, close, but today we're just going to be opening. And I want you to feel like you're pushing outward to your maximum. Maybe you can feel now gluteus medius in the buttock working. Okay, the outer part of the hip. Now, to make it a bit harder, still with no rolling back with the pelvis, take your hand and press inward with your hand to give resistance to push outward with your leg. Keep the feet together. Good. And then releasing down, just when it wants to cramp. Okay, so now we're going to keep the thighs together and we're lifting the foot. And again, just to your maximum. Now, on these two exercises, I must say, everybody's outturn and inturn, is different. This is medial rotation now for the hip, and mine's a bit rubbish. So your foot might come right up here. I know some of, people that I see in class, their leg comes right over here. Mine would only do that if I fell down the stairs or something. So, keep pushing it up, and you'll feel it inside of the pelvis maybe, and maybe outside. It just depends on you. Keep breathing. Now, if you've got a long enough reach, I haven't really got long enough arms to do this, okay? You could push down on that foot and resist like we did with the knee. Good. And then releasing down. Well done. Just roll onto your back. Take a little rest. And the good news is, as I always say, we've got another leg, so we're going to do that on the other side. So you can turn around, and we try all of that on the other side once I move my belt. Okay, so again, make it comfortable for your neck, and we've got the feet flexed, legs are together, and we're lifting the top leg to the maximum, outer edge of the foot parallel with the floor, lengthening away into the heel. Lovely, and then lowering the leg part way down, ready to turn the leg, so towards the ceiling and in. It may feel different on each side. One more. Good. And then bring the top knee towards the chest, turning knee out towards the ceiling. So again, keep that bottom leg working hard. We're stretching the top leg up, and then active work as you bring the leg over towards your head. Keep squeezing it in. Lovely, and then giving it a little bit of hand, so either hold behind as I'm doing here, toe grip, whichever's best for you. And then releasing the leg all the way down. Good, give it a little wriggle out if you've got any cramp going on. And then knees are coming forward, heels towards buttocks. Okay, so keeping the inner edge of the feet together, we're opening out. We don't let the pelvis roll back, so we're opening out with the top knee, squeezing that out turn. Keep breathing. So you can feel maybe the buttock working around the outside of the hip. And ready to give it a bit of resistance. So again, with your hand, you're pushing in and down as if you're trying to close the legs together, resisting with that push out. And then closing it together. Very good. Okay, keeping the thighs together now. And again, lifting with the foot. And as if you're trying to get that maximum push out. As I said before, if you can reach your foot, you can push downward to give it a bit of resistance. I can really feel it in this hip. This is my much stiffer side. Is it burning yet? And then release it down. Well done. Roll onto your back. Take a few breaths. Okay, we're going to come up to kneeling. Now, making sure you've got enough padding if you're kneeling, and you could have a block underneath the knee. You could also use bricks for a bit of stability if you need it, because we're going to be looking at some lunges. Now, when we're doing these lunges today, these are passive lunges to start off with, and we're using the body weight to get the stretch into those hip flexors that we've just been using. So I'm going to kneel onto my pad because my knee's a bit rubbish on the hard floor. And then we're striding forward with the opposite leg. Now, as we sink the hips forward and down, we want to keep the chest in the upright position. So it could be that you might need to put your bricks one on top of the other like that if you're using it for a bit of stability. Again, we're getting that stretch into the back leg, front of the hip here, you can feel it. And the main hip flexor, iliopsoas, as long as we're keeping that chest up. If you like, you can take the arms out to the sides if you don't have bricks, or if you're not wobbly, you can just have the arms down by the sides. Good. Okay, we'll change sides. So it may feel different on the other leg. So I've got this front shin in a more or less vertical position just for stability. And then we're changing back to the other leg. And I'm going to make it a little bit more active now. So that's where the padding, if you need it, for the knee is really important. Now, when we sink forward with the hips, the reason we're stretching here is because these muscles, if we were working them actively, would either bring the body towards the leg or the leg towards the body. Okay, so by extending the leg backward, but in a passive way, we're getting a stretch that feels nice. If we were doing this as an active stretch, we've done it before when we did postures like dancer, where we're working the buttock to extend the leg. Okay. So as we do our passive stretch that we were doing before, we're then going to make it a little bit more active, but in the hamstrings, because the hamstrings bend the knee. Okay. And that will therefore stretch a little bit more into the front. So we are here sinking the hips forward and down. So getting that stretch through the front here and on the inside for the iliopsoas. Take that arm behind. Okay, we're not holding. We're just going to make it to touch together. If we can, we start to bring up that back foot and touch. Take it down, touch. So we're taking it on and off. Watch out for cramp. Now you notice that I'm rising up a little bit as I do that because it's really pulling. This is my stiff side at the front. Good, good. One more. And release. Okay, let's try that on the other leg. Turn around so you can see the other leg. Sinking forward. Arm is going back. So as I bring the leg up and down. And this side you can see is much looser because I'm not having to move around quite so much. So it could be the same one side for you. So this on and off is a good way, particularly if you tend to be tighter, and I know some of you don't like this stretch because it brings cramp on straight away at the back of the leg. One more. Good, and then take a little rest. Now, so we can stretch that out. I'm going to give you 2 ways to do that. Come into your cat position. Hands and knees. So we've got the wrists under the shoulders, no sag in the shoulder, so not sinking here. We're pressing down, and I'm tucking the tail slightly under. Now, one way you can stretch that out is just take the leg behind, and I've got the ball of the foot on the floor, pushing into the heel. Get them nice and solid. Match that leg with the other. Plank. So you're getting a bit of a stretch through the backs of the legs. If you can, take it to down dog by lifting the tail. So if down dog is not an option for you, or you've got very tight legs, plank might be better. That's here. or you can take it on and off. Dog, plank, working the shoulders as well then. As long as you're not dropping the hips too low when you come to your plank. Last one if you're going backward and forward. Last breath if you're in your dog. And then bring the knees down. Okay, have a big gap between the knees and then sit right back towards the heels. You could be on the elbows as I'm doing here. Or you could take your head to the floor. Arms reaching forward. Just getting a stretch into the buttock. And then slowly coming up. Okay, now I'm going to do the next stretch lying on my back with my head towards you so that you can see what my legs are doing. Okay, and we're going to be stretching firstly on the inside of the thighs and hips, and then through the pelvis, okay, when we do the second stretch. And I'll show you various ways that you can make it easier or stronger, okay? So earlier, we sat on the floor and we had the legs wide. So the legs were supported, but the back wasn't, and that's an issue if you tend to be tighter, because then the back can start to round. So when we're doing it lying down like this, the back is obviously supported. So bring the knees onto the chest, stretch the legs up to the ceiling. So it doesn't matter if you have a bent knee. And then we're turning the feet out to the side, as you can see, 10 to 2 here. And then I'm letting my legs drop wide. Now, if you're tight, having the elbows on the floor and supporting underneath the outer part of the leg could be the best option for you, especially if the legs are going further away. Okay, and you can rest at any point, bend the knees on the chest. Okay, if you're a bit looser than that and you can work a bit harder, have the hands on the inside of the legs, pushing down and out. You can keep the feet soft if it's difficult. For those that are looser and you're able to reach your feet, yoga grip, hold the toes and take the legs wide. If you're looser than that and you can keep the tailbone on the floor, bend the elbows to draw the legs wider and lower. Supta Upavista Konasana. So you can see this is the same position as when we were balancing, taking the legs wide. But now the back's nice and straight. Gravity's helping you stretch the legs a little bit. Don't have to work the thighs so hard. One more breath. And then bring the legs up together, releasing, bending the knees. You can take the feet to the floor, take a resting breath. Okay, so Gomukhasana is head of the cow, and we're going to do just the leg part, but we're going to do it lying down. So again, the back is supported. So I want you to take the legs back up to the ceiling. I'm going to take the legs wide, and then you're going to wrap one thigh over the other. So I've got my right going over my left, but it doesn't really matter. And then bending the knees. You can see the feet going off to the sides. And then take your hands onto your knees. So the top knee, which is my right leg, I've got my left hand on that. And then my right hand is on the lower leg, which should be that you've got opposite hand to leg. Wriggle the hands down the shins towards the ankles if we can, and pull the feet apart. You may feel a strong stretch in the top leg, hip or thigh. And these are the ears on the cow. Okay, they're all in the best possible taste. We're going to unwrap and rewrap again. Whenever I make that joke, I always think that nobody's going to understand what I'm saying because they're not old enough. Now, when I do it the second time, no matter which leg I've done first, it always feels like someone else's legs. I don't get so much of a good stretch for this one. Feels a bit wonky. But again, that will depend on proportion and flexibility. And unwrapping, and just place the feet down and take a few breaths rest. Okay, rolling onto your side, coming back up to sitting. Now, what we've been working towards whole class, just before we do our little relaxation at the end, is to look at Upavistakonasana. Now, we've done it, balancing. They're all called different things because obviously we work in different areas as such, or they're called different things because of how we're working the body. But it's the same shape we're making with our body on this last one, but it is probably the strongest of the ones that we've done. So you could sit back onto your block again if you like. Okay, I'm not going to do that because I don't need to. Okay, I find it a little bit uncomfortable to do that, but if it helps you to have the legs wide, then do sit on the block. Take the hands underneath the buttocks and pull the flesh back from the sitting bones. So again, we're back into the realm of trying to keep the back upright. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my mic belt today. And so we need to lift here at the sternum. So again, don't have the legs too wide if you're finding it strong here already. Now, one of the things that helped me to do this pose, and what the pose is asking us to do, is lean forward, okay, and maybe hold on to the feet. I find it very difficult because my back was stiff. So we've done lots of stretches for that area, and we've done lots of stretches for inside of the leg, back side of the leg, etc., etc. However, for years and years, I just didn't get any lower. So one thing that really helped me was to take the stretch on and off, on and off. Okay, so we're going to take the hands and walk down one leg, and then walk the hands around to other leg and walk back up. This would be the easy option. Walk down and walk around like this. So you can feel it moving within the pelvis, working the back, the legs, etc. You don't have to go as fast as this if you don't like. Now, to make it stronger, you could do this with the arms off the floor. So I'm circling around, pushing with my chest. Okay, I'm not leading with my head. If you want to make it stronger, you take the arms out, reaching beyond the feet. And as you do this, you may be able to get lower and lower in the grind. You can feel it in the legs as you come round. And then slow it down, no matter which way you're doing it, until we're in the middle. And the hands to the floor. Now, if you're all the way up here, that might be your maximum. If you're coming forward more, the elbows might be the maximum. If this is you, okay, because it won't help if you're higher than this, you start to walk and reach forward. So we're stretching each side of the back out of the pelvis. And as you reach forward, a bit of a commando crawl, we lengthen down further and further, and maybe take the head. If it's easy, push into the heels. Some of you naturally come all the way down anyway because of the shape of your femur head in the hip socket. Okay, but a lot of us, we don't have that. Tightness elsewhere. Keep breathing. Last breath. Inhale, we come up. Fantastic. Closing the legs together. Have a little hug there. Well done. Okay, now as I say, don't get cold. Lying down on your mat for a little relaxation. Just do a few breaths. So if you need socks or tops on, feel free to do that. Closing your eyes. Bit of a gap between the legs and a gap between the arms and the sides of the body. Lying in Shavasana, corpse pose. Feel the heart rate settling. And take a nice long deep breath in through the nose. And a long deep breath out through the nose. Everything's sinking down. Then next time you breathe in, lifting the arms up. Exhaling over the head. Get a bit of a stretch right through the body. Wiggle the toes and the fingers. Bending the knees. Hugging the knees up. And when you're ready, coming back to sitting. Sitting in a comfortable position for you. Take the arms either side, shoulders back. Deep breath in, reaching wide and up. Palms together, exhale to heart center. Namaste. Well done. It's hard work today. I know legs are, we all think that they're going to be easy stretches, but they are quite difficult a lot of the time. So well done. And remember, you can always watch that on playback. And below the screen is a subscribe button. You can always click onto that. Thank you very much for everyone coming in today. And hello to everyone that said hello. And hopefully I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.